All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone, who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations to the Akim out here pushing this gospel in truth and in sincerity to the best of their ability, given to them by Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, fall upon your houses. It's your brother Quanah Watts from the Arizona Great Millstone Camp. Come back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord will. It is edifying, Lord will, to straight to the point. You know, and in this lesson, right, I ultimately want to touch on, right, being content, right, with what you have, right, being content with the situation that you're in, right, in a world where, hey, the people are covetous, right, they're always desiring, you know, somebody else's life, they're always desiring, you know, to basically be somebody else. Hey, we have to, you know, scriptures say to be renewed through the spirit of your mind, right? At one point, we were in that spirit, right? At one point, we were, you know, following after that same spirit, right? The spirit of the world. But see, hey, as we come into this truth, as we come into this ministry, right, you have to understand that you're going to lose a lot of things, man. You're going to gain a lot of things. You're going to lose a lot of things, right? Especially in this ministry, you know. You preaching this truth is going to have, you know, hey, the Lord, you know, as the scriptures say in Sirach, the 2nd chapter, you know. Matter of fact, we'll grab that real quick. And just flowing through the spirit, man. Sirach chapter 2, verse 1, it says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation." That's right, man. Right, we got to prepare yourself, right, for the tests and the trials that the Lord is going to put you through. And, you know, as a personal testimony, man, the Lord, right, when I first found out about this truth, man, right, the Lord ultimately made me homeless for a whole year, you know, me and my family, you know. You know, Lord took everything away from me. So you're going to lose things, you know, in this ministry. You're going to lose things in this ministry. And you know, just as, you know, we read about Job, right, the Lord ultimately took everything away from him, man, you know, which was a test for Job, right, the ultimate test, you know, that he could have gone through. He lost his family, right? He lost his substance, right? You have to understand that he probably lost millions and billions. You know, he had land, he had servants. This man was wealthy, man, and the Lord took all of it away from him, man. You know, and you know, go and read, right, of the mindset that he had. Hey, shall we not receive good at the hand of the Most High and not evil? You know, shall we receive good at the hand of the Most High and not evil? Roughly paraphrasing, right? So he was ultimately, you know, he was content. You know, he was content with the position the Lord put him in, knowing that the Lord was ultimately going to raise him out of there. You know. You know, so ultimately, you know, you have to prepare. Hey, the Lord will take things away from you, man, right, and put you in certain situations, right, that you wouldn't have, you know, gotten yourself there. You know, Lord will put you there, right, to ultimately have you learn some things, man, right, whether it be to humble you down, right, whether, you know, whether it be to show you, you know, that what you're doing or you know, whether it be, you know, obviously it could be even, you know, lawful things, man, right? But he'll take those things away from you, right, to show you, hey, you know, you need to focus on me and not those things, you know? So whatever situation the Lord puts you in, you got to be content with it, man, you know? But I'll just keep reading down. The point is in verse 4, but it says, "Set thy heart aright and constantly endure." Because again, we're going to be constantly tested, man. You know, just like Abraham was, right? He was tested all the way even to his old age, man. You know, he was always tested, man. Right? So we have to have the mindset we're going to be tested too, right? It says, "And make not haste in the time of trouble. Cleave unto him, just like you cleave unto him, and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end." And see, again, going back to Job, hey, Job ultimately received double, right? Everything that he had, the Lord gave him twofold, man. You know, if I'm not mistaken, you know, Lord gave him everything back and some. So again, you, just as you're going to lose some things, right, you're going to gain some things too, man. You know, it says, and here's the point, it says, "Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate." That's right, man. You know, but I want to go back to that word, or actually I got that word content, but I want to read this real quick. In Philippians, the 4th chapter, right? Because this is ultimately the sentiment of all, those that came before us, man. All the righteous men that came before us, they were in that mindset. They had that mindset, As Philippians 4 and verse 11, it says, not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned whatsoever state I am in therewith to be content, right? To be content, right? And when I got that word right here, content, it says now, it says state of mind, which results from satisfaction with present circumstances, right? So you're okay, cool. Instead of looking at like, fuck, I'm in this situation, fuck this, blah, 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 you're just like, you're upset that you're even in this situation, right? The proper mindset would to be, okay, cool. How can I use this situation to benefit me, right? Being content with the situation and living with the situation, operating with the situation. And I like how it says, right, the state of mind, right? Because again, right, the scriptures talk about being renewed through the spirit of your mind, right? Again, at one point we were in this world, we're being covetous, wanting to be like everybody else, wanting to or want what everybody else has, and if you didn't have it, like in school, everybody had, the nice brand name shoes. If you didn't have it, oh, now you feel embarrassed. Now you feel left out, this and the third. Well, nah, man, we ain't with that shit no more, man. Whatever state we in, and I heard the brother Tazar, man, at the camp, brother made a statement, man, a beautiful statement. Damn, I literally just had it, man. Salakia, damn, that was a heavy statement that brother made too, man. He said, figure out, what fits you, what works for you, and rock it, man. Don't be trying to, again, be covetous and all this other shit, man. Just be content with what you got. Be content with what the Lord gave you, man. And that's how we have to be, right? No matter the situation we're in, whether the Lord allows us to abound, right, and have more things, or the Lord abases us, man. Again, it's not necessarily just about the things that you have. It could be about the lesson the Lord is trying to teach you, man. So be content with the situation, man. Be okay with wherever the Lord puts you, man. And that will go a long way, because really, ultimately, you being covetous and that's a state, that's pride, bro. That's straight up pride, And the Lord hates that, man. Lord ain't fucking with no pride. Pride goes before destruction. You see all these people, man. They proud, man. And the brothers were talking about these damn women, at camp today, right? These women always, changing their bodies, right? Because they want to look like these celebrities and so on and so forth. Nah, just be content with what the Lord gave you and how you look. And if you want to, change that, you can by working out, so on and so forth. Instead of doing all these, fake ass artificial bullshit right to your body and shit, man. Nobody wants that, man. They portray that people do, but really nobody wants that shit, man. But again, right, we have to be content. And I want to see any more on that, right? It says, it says right here, willing to accept a particular thing, right? Satisfied. It says, accept as adequate despite wanting more or better, right? Because, hey, we want to be in the kingdom, realistically, right? We want to be in the kingdom. We want to be able to kick our feet up. Hey, but the situation that we're in now, right? We understand that it's needful for us to be here as men that, that preach and teach, right? It's needful for us to be here to teach and wake up the elect of the nation of Israel, man. As Apostle Paul has said, man, he wants to be in that, that heavenly body, be with the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, right? But it's needful for him to be here, right? To teach and to preach and to spread the gospel, man. And that's the state that we're in, or that's the mindset that we're in. We understand that, hey, we don't want to be here, but we understand that we have to be here. So, hey, you got to work with what you have. We got to work with what the Lord ultimately gave you. That's the spirit. The light just came on, man. A light just shined, man. Beautiful, But I'm going to continue on. Philippians 4 and verse 12. It says, I know how to be abased, right? Meaning he knows how to be low, be of a low estate, have really nothing, right? And he says, and I know how to abound, meaning he knows how to have, a lot, It says, everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Hamashiach Yahushai, which strengthens me. That's right, man. You know, everything goes back to, you know, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, you know, understanding, you know, that the Lord is going to put us in certain situations, right, to teach us a lesson, right? Sometimes the Lord will just take certain things away from us because we don't need it, you know? Again, right, the point is, right, be content with the situation that you're in, right? Be content with what the Lord gave you. Be content, you know, with who the Lord made you, you know? Don't be trying to, you know, covet, you know, somebody else's, you know, lifestyle habits and so on and so forth, man. Nah, fuck that shit, man. Be yourself, you know? Be yourself, man. You know, as well as, again, right, a major point, be content with the situation the Lord put you in. Don't look at the situation that you're in, right, whether you be low or you got a lot or whatever it may be, you know. Look at it, hey, the Lord, you know, if you got a lot, hey, the Lord's, you know, allowing you some breathing room, you know. If you don't, hey, maybe there's something the Lord, you know, wants you to learn, right, and instill within yourself so you can come out of that situation, right, you know. But yeah, man, you know, just be content, man, you know. But that's all I got, man. I just wanted to speak on that real quick, man, because I just noticed that the Spirit, man, is coming out, you know, a few times, you know, last couple of days, man. So just wanted to speak on that, man, because that's a heavy thing, right? We're all of us, man, especially in these times. We're about to lose a lot, man. You know, about to lose you know, Esau about to take people out their homes. You know, Esau about to, you know, come in like the flood, take people out their homes. Esau is trying to make it to where, you know, the food is becoming more and more scarce. You know, you got a whole bunch of recalls happening and so on and so forth, man. So, hey, here soon, you know, those things that, you know, are everyday things, soon they're going to become, you know, high luxury commodities, man, right? Which means they're going to be hard to come by or hard to, you know, attain, you know. So again, whatever situation we're in, hey, just understand it's the will of the Lord, man, you know, for you to be in that situation, you know. But that's all I got, man. Lord wills that it find, Lord will straight to the point. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachak Wadash, double honor to the elder apostles, elder bishops, the great millstone. Till next time, I say shalom.